Republicans are very publicly infighting, which means they're making themselves look bad, which means they're making our job easier. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Serotonin Sandwich series. I'm Allie 202, and in this news series, I deliver your news to you in a way that is meant not to shut down your nervous system. In the 24/7 doom and gloom news cycle, it's really easy to get so frightened that you freeze. In this news cycle, you're going to receive every episode one piece of good news, and then one piece of bad news, and then one tangible, actionable, small thing that you can do to keep yourself motivated and productive, right? The idea is we're literally creating a serotonin sandwich for your brain so that you're capable of taking in some of the bad news in the middle, but you also have your faith in humanity retained by the good news, and you also have your motivation and your productivity retained by the action items that I give to you at the end of the video. These are going to be coming out both on YouTube and on Substack. My Substack is linked below. That's for if you want to get these videos in a written newsletter format each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you for the overwhelmingly positive comments about this new format so far. Let's hop right into today's video. The three stories we're covering are as follows. Number one, the good news is that Elon Musk is going off on the Republican budget bill on X, like 2 days after he left his official position in the White House, and it's elevating the complaints that Democrats have had about the bill, cutting like 14 million people from their Medicaid for a long time. Number two, the bad news is that due to cuts to U.S. aid that the Trump administration made, a bunch of food is sitting and rotting in warehouses all around the world, instead of feeding people that are at risk of starving. And number three, the action item is going to be highlighting a completely new emergency organization that was created in response to Trump's cuts to USAID. We'll talk about how you can support them both monetarily and by getting the word out about their work at the end of the video. Okay, let's get started on the good news section of this video the best way I know how, which is by reading a tweet. Elon Musk is making headlines because he left his formal position with the White House a couple days ago, and he's already tweeting, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." Let's talk about what this means. The bill that Elon is critiquing is the spending bill, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. That is literally what it's called because Trump keeps going around calling it One Big Beautiful Bill, and so they literally formally named it that. And it's the budget, right, that sets the stage for Trump's entire policy agenda. Now, before we get into the specifics of what Elon meant in this tweet and how other congressional Republicans infighting is looking right now, I want to give a kind of bird's eye overview about how the budget works so we're all on the same page. This is really quite simple. Congress has to pass the budget by the end of September, and it determines how the country can spend its money. Are we going to spend money on healthcare, or are we going to cut money on healthcare? Are we going to spend money on climate policy, or are we going to cut money on climate policy? Republicans have a majority in both chambers of Congress, the House and the Senate, which means they can make their own budget bill, all agree on it, and pass it without having any Democrats vote yes, meaning hypothetically they have all the power, but only if every single one of them can agree on what they want in that bill. And as of right now, they can't agree. If they can't get all the Republican votes, if a few people defect, then they have to start working with Democrats instead to get enough votes to pass the bill. And Democrats are going to force them to include things in the bill like protecting healthcare, protecting climate policy, right? Protecting nutrition benefits. The moral of the story is that Republicans have to be completely in lockstep with each other if they want to work around Democrats right now. The more they infight, the more power that we as an opposition have. Now that you have that under your belt, let's talk about the specifics of Elon Musk's criticisms and the other infighting that is playing out rather publicly right now. Now, Elon Musk and I dislike this bill for different reasons. The reason that I and many on the left are highly critical of it is that it slashes taxes for the rich and pays for it by cutting health, nutrition, education, and clean energy programs to cover the cost. If you've heard people talking about things like 14 million people losing Medicaid coverage, this is the bill that they're talking about. Now, Elon Musk's stated reason for frustration with this bill has more to do with the deficit. Elon Musk and some congressional Republicans are frustrated that even though this bill cuts so many services to Americans, it still spends more than it saves because it's giving so much money to rich people. That is not an exaggeration. The Congressional Budget Office has said perhaps this will increase the deficit by like $1 trillion. So much for a saving bill, right? It's also worth noting though that this bill includes a section that would end subsidies and tax credits meant to spur consumers to buy electric vehicles, which would be negative for Tesla. So, Elon Musk is saying, oh, I'm concerned about the deficit. It's quite possible he's just concerned about Tesla, but there are a lot of congressional Republicans who are threatening not to vote for this spending bill because of what it does to the deficit. And just to be clear again, what it does to the deficit is increase it a ton, even though that's what many Republicans are always claiming to be so vocally against. So at this point, you may be wondering, okay, I mean, Elon is upset about the bill, but it's for his own personal reasons. Like, why are we glad that he's publicly criticizing it? Good question. The answer is that because this bill does so much damage to people, taking away their healthcare, taking away their SNAP benefits, my goal and the goal of many on the left is to make it unpassable in its current form. In order to kill the bill, essentially, what we need is Republicans to infight so much that they can't pass any version of this. As the New York Times explains, Mr. Musk posted his criticism at a critical moment for the bill because it just passed the House on May 22nd, making humongous headlines. In fact, you might recall a former recent video that I'll link above where I went to the Capitol at 1 a.m. and I was there from 1 to 4 a.m. because that's when House Republicans were trying to pass this bill through the last committees because it was so unpopular with the American people, so they were just like doing it at nighttime while everyone was asleep. Now that the bill passed the House, it's going to the Senate where it only needs a few Republicans to vote no, and a few Republicans are indicating that they're wishy-washy about it. And Elon Musk publicly criticizing it is sure to throw a little bit more of a wrench in things, right? What we need is a small number of Republicans to vote no on this bill in the Senate, and then Democrats have a lot more power to say, perfect, now that you struck down this initial version of the bill that takes away everybody's healthcare, how about we rewrite the bill? It has to protect nutrition benefits, has to protect healthcare. We as the minority party now have power. That's why it's so important when people like Elon verbalize their disputes with the bill. Even if we don't agree with the specifics of it, it might mean that the bill in its current version isn't able to pass. And what's more, even some House Republicans, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, right, that voted for this bill to pass the House, that's why I was there from 1 to 4 a.m., are saying that they have regrets about it, specifically saying they didn't read it all. This is a really funny headline from the New Republic that says, Marjorie Taylor Greene shocked by terrible AI rule in budget bill she voted for, because she also just recently tweeted, full transparency, I did not know about this section of the bill I voted for on pages 278 to 279 that strips states of the right to make laws or regulate AI for 10 years. That's right. Inserted into the middle of a budget bill was a line that says states cannot regulate AI for a decade. Now, there's a few things to be said about this, right? As the New Republic says, her post underscores both a competence issue on her end, yes, and the greater lack of Republican cohesion on the details of this one big, beautiful bill act. Again, infighting, making it more difficult to pass. This is obviously very embarrassing for Marjorie Taylor Greene, especially considering, like, I knew about that AI provision from random Instagram infographics. Like, she definitely should have known about it. But I mean, it does highlight the fact that the New York Times says the realities of legislating in the modern age. Members of Congress have become accustomed to having their leaders throw together huge pieces of legislation, right, 1,000 pages long, at the very last moment, and often cannot read the entirety of the bill they are voting on if they read any of it at all. This is a huge issue, and it's not necessarily any individual congressperson's fault. That being said, again, even I knew about the AI part. Again, Instagram infographics, man. Also, another representative, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, said, what the heck, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I brought this provision up during the debate. I literally said things on the floor about the AI part. How did you not know about it? We were literally talking about it. Anyways, the thesis of this section, though, that I really want to like drill into our brains, the reason that it's good news when this kind of infighting happens is that it weakens the Republican Party and strengthens the Democratic Party to be able to put more humanitarian measures in the budget bill. Republicans are doing some of our work for us, and that is really good news. And a quick reminder that if you are enjoying this video, to leave a thumbs up. This is a brand new series, so it would make a huge difference for the algorithm. All right, we're going to switch to the bad news section of this video, which today has to do with how USAID cuts are leaving food for millions of people moldering in storage. This article from Reuters includes a photo of tons and tons of food that's currently in storage in North Kingston, Rhode Island, that helps illustrate the scale of waste that we're seeing right now from USAID cuts. So the high-level overview of this story is that there are more than 60,000 tons of food that American American taxpayers have already paid to prepare, right, and then store in these warehouses. And what the Trump administration did is they cut the funding necessary to ship this food out. The supplies currently in warehouses are valued at over $98 million, meaning that if you do the conversions, there's enough food rations that could supply 3.5 million people with food for a month that is now sitting in these warehouses around the world, unable to be shipped. According to an undated inventory list for the warehouses, which are located in Djibouti, South Africa, Dubai, and Houston, says they include things like ready-to-use therapeutic foods like high-energy biscuits and peanut butter pastes that are specifically made to target regions facing famine. As you may know, food can't just sit around forever. Some stocks are due to expire as early as July and are therefore likely to be destroyed either by burning them, using them as animal feed, or disposing of them in other ways, according to sources that spoke to Reuters. Food that's likely to be destroyed includes nearly 500 tons of those high-energy biscuits stored at a USAID warehouse in Dubai because they're due to expire in July. Those biscuits could feed at least 27,000 acutely malnourished children for a month. This type of waste is completely uncalled for. In a typical year, only around 20 tons of food might be disposed of in this way because of damage in transit or storage. In general, right, when we American taxpayers pay to prepare all of this food for starving people around the world, like, the expectation is it is going to reach the people that need to eat it. Some of those stocks of high-energy biscuits were previously intended for Gaza and Sudan, two regions that are facing the highest risks of famine right now. This is one of those stories that just really pisses me off on so many levels because it is simultaneously so stupid and so cruel. Stupid in that this is a waste of food, of money, of expertise. You can't cut off a policy. You can't cut off 66,000 tons of food delivery just straight in the middle of the program. And then secondarily, it's so cruel. Children will die. Children are dying. It's kind of incomprehensible to me how so many people in power are like, yeah, we have all of the resources lined up for us to keep these children from starving. Let them starve. I frankly don't really comprehend that. But that's the state that this program is in right now. Before I channel too much negative energy, we're going to move into the what can we do section, because there are a couple of organizations that are creating emergency funds that are trying to figure out what the heck to do to redirect all of this food and programs that USAID has had canceled, like how to fill in some of the gaps right now. So let's transition into that before I lose anybody here from overwhelm and fear. All right, y'all, official verbal transition into the what you can do section. So naturally, I was looking for ways that we can help the people who are hurt by Trump's foreign aid cuts, and I came across this really helpful Vox article that taught me about something called the Rapid Response Fund, which was created in February, just a couple months ago, trying to fill in the humanitarian gaps that USAID cuts have left. The Rapid Response Fund website is right here, and I've linked it below. It says this fund will fill critical time-sensitive funding gaps created by the suspension of U.S. foreign aid. They're basically hand-selecting a group of organizations to donate to. As you can see, they have had a bunch of fund recipients so far this year. I want to highlight one that I really liked. In March, they gave $100,000 to the International Rescue Committee. The expected impact of the grant was to provide 24/7 medical support and funding for at least 4 malnutrition stabilization centers for 1 month. I thought that was really topical considering our discussion of the food that's rotting in storage, right? So there's 2 ways that I've laid out for you to support the Rapid Response Fund today. The first is a donation. Okay, they have a donate button on their website that you can click, and for everyone worldwide, as long as you're not in Australia, you can just click this main donation button and it'll take you to this page where you can give either your card information or pay with PayPal. They even have a pay with crypto option, which seems pretty bizarre, but you can do that if you so desire. They are very 2025. That being said, if you don't have the means to donate, don't worry. I actually made an Instagram graphic. I'm going to show you it real quick. Okay, y'all, I'm really technologically challenged, but I managed to edit this Instagram story graphic for you. It's currently up on my Instagram story as well, and I have created a specialized link for it that's in the description. If you click that link, this photo will pop up for you and you can download it to your own phone and put it on your own Instagram story. So if you can't donate to the fund today, you can just encourage other people to do so on your Instagram. Let me show you my Instagram story. Okay, so see, I have this up on my Instagram story. What I did was I downloaded the photo and then I just had to include the link to the Rapid Response Fund at the bottom. So the link to the photo to download and the link to the Rapid Response Fund that you include include in your story for people to donate to are both in the description below, okay? And then you can have the same Instagram story as me today. Feel free to tag me as well if you want, and so that I can see that you're doing this and you're following the Serotonin Sandwich. Okay, everybody, that's the end of today's Serotonin Sandwich. A reminder to leave a comment below if you enjoyed this video, because this is a new video series, so every bit of engagement is a humongous boost to the algorithm. Turn your post notifications on for my YouTube channel, because my shorts might just come up in your normal YouTube feed, but you'll need reminders from the YouTube app when these long videos are coming out. And also a reminder that if you'd like this series coming to your email inbox in written newsletter form, you can subscribe to my Substack, which is below. These will be coming out Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on both YouTube and Substack, and I will see you in the next episode.